I am not a robot. This could be heard as a weird statement, but because there is no doubt about the fact that I am not a robot. But in the coming coming years, the proposition will be less weird because of the emergence of wonderful and stressful technologies of information and communication. I wish to tell you some philosophical considerations about performative and existential robotics. I don't like to say social robotics or autonomous robotics because robots are never autonomous and they are never social. There are performative robots and existential robots. Performative because they perform actions and effects. And existential because they disturb the representation of who I am, both as a person and as a member of the human species. I will focus my talk here about humanoid robots. It means robots that look like humans. These robots are very strange, very bizarre, very weird. Why? Because they have their usefulness. It's very difficult to know what goal they could fulfill. There is nothing that a non-humanoid or a robot or a human could not do better than a humanoid robot. And the question is really to know, but what can we do with that? Why do we spend so much money, so much energy, so much intelligence to create such technologies? And that's what I shall try to discuss today. I shall focus my considerations about Sophia. Sophia is the humanoid robots above. One of the most known humanoid robots in the world. The other one is the robots designed by Ishiguro, a professor at Osaka University in Japan. Was designed, as you see, a double of himself. You could not see who is the robot or what is the robot and who is the human here. But I will focus on Sophia. Sophia is, and I have no other pictures because I think that to show pictures like that is a kind of hypnotic technologies, and that it's a little bit difficult from a philosophical point of view to discuss hypnotic technology through other hypnotic technologies. Sophia is a very special robot. It's very interesting for a philosopher. What does a philosopher has to do? It has to create new kinds of narratives. And he has to make stories about the world. To make stories, as you know, has two different meanings, two combinatory meanings. The first one is to create narrations, and the other one is to make emerge problems. And that's exactly what philosophy has to do. First, to create problems, to make emerging problems, and then to design new kinds of narratives than the ones that are usually mobilized for these technologies, for example, by the entrepreneurs of the Silicon Valley. Sophia is a very interesting robot. She is a 45-kilo robot. But what is most impressive about her is her face, because she has a very mobile face, and she's programmed through artificial intelligence technologies that allow her to show emotions or to show feelings, or more exactly, to make as if she has emotions or feelings. And she could understand emotions and feelings of other people in face of her. Why? Because she's a very talkative robot, as we will see. She has a face that is designed through a special matter, a fiber, that have been invented by the creator of Sophia, David Hanson. David Hanson is an interesting guy because he's not an engineer. He's a designer, he's an artist, and he does work with his robots in that way, as we will see. The question of around Sophia are numerous. Let me give you some of them. First question is, what does she do? I said that we don't know exactly what to do with humanoid robots. So what does she do? And mainly what she does is to talk, it's to discuss. She has been invented in 2015, and as soon as 2017, she had public discussions with the United Nations Secretary Deputy about the future of humanity, about the world, and so on. She is mainly an invited creature, an invited robot, because she is invited to be a guest in some location, and invited to provide some actions, to provide some effects. She is nevertheless a ubiquitous creature. There is no one Sophia, there are many that could act at the same time in different locations of the world, discussing of these different topics. She is a kind of ubiquitous robot, very interesting to think from a philosophical point of view. She is also not a copy of something, let's say, a human, because the human is not a model for Sophia, but it is a target of Sophia to be involved with human beings in order to develop kinds of talks. But such a robot has negative effects and positive effects. Let me tell you a couple of positive effects. And I prefer to tell about effects than about actions, because a robot like Sophia doesn't really act. She speaks. She has intellectual, cognitive, emotional effects. I say she, but that's one of the problems with Sophia too. It is a machine, but she acts as a female, human female. So you could say, because of her representation, she is she, but because of her nature, it is it. But basically, and this is one interesting point, she is at the in a between. She's both, or it is both she and it. It has a floating ontology, which is interesting to think about. It is not either that or that, it is both at different level. In Japanese language, we have a word for that refers exactly to that, the word amai, which means precisely that. So positive effect of Sophia are that she is a messianic machine. What does it mean, a messianic machine? A messianic machine is a machine that says, well, we are coming. We machines, intelligence-friendly machines are coming. We are the future of the world. There are also conjuring machines. You certainly have heard about the singularity, about the fear that a big aggressive artificial intelligence could take power on the world. And an artificial intelligence technology like Sophia could say, no, we are friendly machines too. We could be part of your society. She is also a metaphysical. Another positive point is that she's a metaphysical, and I prefer to say she here. She is a metaphysical machine, which means that through interactions with that machine, we could try to think deeply about what it means to be a human being, what it means to be a human person. But it has also negative effect. The first negative effect is about languages. It's very weird. I told you that it's a machine that is always talking. She is always conversing with other humans. But it's a language without any locutor. It's a language with no speaker. It's a language in which nobody really speaks. And this is a problem about language. What does the language become when it works without any speaker? Another problem is precisely the fuzzing frontier between who is a human and what is not human. It becomes very difficult, it will become very difficult to establish the identification of a human when you will be in front of it. Remember the two famous movies, Her, where a man is falling in love with an operating system and is really in love with that operating system, or more exactly with the voice of that operating system. And Blade Runner, the famous movie, where, as you know, you have hunters that have to make a decision between complex humanoid robots and true humans. And as you know, that's empathy that could draw the difference between both. A second negative point is that it destroys, therefore, the notion of human notions. What does it mean to be human if you could have kinds of humans like that? A third negative point is the difficulty to be confronted with a new kind of capitalism, a kind of existential capitalism in which you are sold things to become more human or differently human, and that will be a new, and that becomes to be a new market. So the question is to know what will be the future of such technologies. I have no abilities to tell you what will be those technologies for many reasons. One of them being that the future is never given in the present, and that we could be confronted with very new progress. Let me give you only one example. It's about the conversational artificial intelligence up to 2012, where we have had a very important discovery about the deep learning technology of programming. We used to think that we will never have a technology like conversational agents like ChatGPT. It's always very primitive, but it still have important application, and we all have used these applications at least once and more than one. The question that we will face with these technologies is, I will give you only two remarks. I will do only two remarks. The first one is that we have to think about the possibility that it will be very difficult for us to distinguish kinds of agents, kinds of existential agents. Not only to difficulties to distinguish them, but also to make a living with them, to know how to inhabit together the world. I don't think that we will have humanoid robots like us that we will not be able to distinguish from a human. But we will be confronted to a lot of very smart, very troubling, very fuzzy artifacts through which we will be a little bit lost in our humanity. A second point is that to think about these questions, we have to develop a new kind of philosophy, maybe, a kind of philosophy that is more linked to science fiction. I told you about the narrative dimensions of thinking, and I think that for thinking these new emerging technologies, we have to establish a convergence from philosophy with science fiction, and to become, at least for some of us, to become kinds of philosophers working like a science fiction writer writes science fiction stories. Not to assimilate them to the other, but to push them together. And with colleagues in France and around the world, not only in France, we are trying to establish a new philosophical movement that will try to do that, to make a junction between science fiction and philosophy to make the coming world. In that way, I think that philosophers have also to open up to the reality of the world, not only to stay reading and commenting other philosophers, but being confronted to the reality of the world. These technologies are very impressive. They are not what the conceptor says they are, but they are very impressive. They are very disturbing. Thank you very much.